everyone, Griff Hamlin here. Welcome and thanks for joining me today. In today's video, we're going to talk about a fun tune, actually. This is the Chords, and we'll talk a little bit about how to approach one of my favorite old Freddie King tunes called Ain't Nobody's Business. I don't know who originally recorded the tune. I happen to like Freddie's version the most out of all the ones that I've heard. It's kind of a very slow, gospel style blues. I just really dig it. And, I've heard like B.B. King has done it more in like an up-tempo kind of thing. I suspect that it's an older tune, probably from the big band era. I don't know its history, but that's kind of my guess. And so I'm sure it's been done in a lot of different ways, but we're going to talk about some of the chords. It's not a standard 12-bar blues. Not at all. And in fact, it's got some kind of fun altered elements and some fun things that you can do. So let's just jump right in. I'm going to do it in the key of C. So we'll be starting with our one chord, a C. Now, you could make it a C7, but that has actually, in this case, I think you'll find it gives a little bit of a different flavor. Okay, so even though it's bluesy, I think you're going to find that you're going to want to keep it with a straight C. Definitely not a C major 7. I don't think that would sound good at all. Maybe a C6, maybe something like that. I don't know, there's not really an easy way to play that. You could also split the bar. This is something that I do a lot on this tune, is start and do the first 2 beats as C, and then the second 2 beats as C7. Even that, though, I don't know if you're going to love it. So, I would tend to stick to a pretty straight C chord, nothing fancy, and that's just for one whole bar. So 1, 2, and 3, 4. The next chord is going to be the 3 chord, right? So from C, D, E. E is the third of the scale. Now, this will be an E7. The standard harmony rule would tell us to make this minor. So we've already left the key far behind. And that's just one of those things about blues changes, is they just sort of don't care. So this is an E7, again for a whole bar. 2, 3, 4, and now the 4 chord, which is F. And again, you could play F7. In this one, I think you definitely could get away with an F7. Or here, or here. Where you choose to play F7 is not super important. But keep in mind that the next chord is going to be an F sharp diminished 7. Okay, and this is not an uncommon chord in these sort of gospel style voicings, where we go from the 4 chord, we go up a half step. Okay, another way to look at this is it's a D7 chord, right? Here's my D7, but you can't have a D. You have to have a D sharp, and you can play that low F sharp bass if you want. So what I'm playing right now is 1st fret on the 4th string, 2nd fret on the 3rd string, 1st fret on the 2nd string, 2nd fret on the 1st string. Okay, and that makes a diminished 7th chord. And what's kind of cool about diminished 7th chords is any note can be the root, right? And since I have an F sharp up here, I'm going to go ahead and play my F sharp down here as well. And I've actually got enough fingers to get all of these notes. Now, of course, if you followed me for any amount of time, you know that I am not a fan of playing big, gigantic chord shapes when you're playing this in a band. Okay, so what I'm talking about are chords that you would play if you're playing it by yourself. If I was playing this in a band, it'd be very different. 1, 2, and a 3, 4, and the E7 would probably be 2, and a 3, and 4, and F, and 2, and a 3, and 4, and probably something like that. Okay, here's another way to voice a diminished 7th chord. So my middle finger's on the root, the F sharp here at the 9th fret of the 5th string. 3rd finger is on the 10th fret of the 4th string. 1st finger is on the 8th fret of the 3rd string. Pinky's on the 10th fret of the 2nd string. And all that is F7, and you make the bass note go up one fret. everything else stays the same. Okay, so that's an easy way to make that move. And that move, that sort of 4 to up a half step diminished 7 move, is not uncommon. It's actually fairly common in slow blues tunes. You've probably heard it before. I would be really surprised if you hadn't heard it before. So when you kind of hear, oh, I know it went somewhere, but I don't know where, now you know. It goes when it's going from the 4 chord and it sounds like it lifted up just a little bit. That's probably what it is. Okay. So after we have that, we're going to go back. Now we're going to be doing, so those chords, the C, the E7, the F or F7, and the F sharp diminished 7, those are all a whole bar each. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 1, and a 3, and a 4, and a 1, and 2. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we get C, 2, A minor, or A7. Okay, you get to take your choice. Now, the theory folks out there are going to say, "What do you mean you get to take your choice?" Okay, so 6 chords. A is a 6 in the key of C. 6 chords are supposed to be minor. I absolutely get that. There's a jazz rule, and this goes for blues as well, that says you can take any chord that's supposed to be minor and make it into a dominant 7th. Yeah, it's a little more complicated than that, but that's the gist of it, and that pretty much will serve you through any purpose that you need it for. So jazz says it's okay, it's okay. All right, so we're going to go from C to A minor or A7. I'm going to play A7. To D, again, could be minor, but probably 7. To G7, okay, and that's what we call a 1, 6, 2, 5. It's not an uncommon chord progression at all. So in the key of C, the 6 is the A minor or A7. The D7 is the 2, not D minor, probably. It should be minor. Two chords are supposed to be minor by the standard harmony rule, but we're going to play D7, 5 chord, G7. And then the turnaround, 1, 4, and 1, and then 5. And I encourage you to play a 7 sharp 5 chord here. So aside from my root note, right? So I've got that low G, but the part that you're going to want to grab, the flat 7 is the 3rd fret on the 4th string. The B is the 4th fret on the 3rd string. The sharp 5 in this, right? Normally it would be that. So the 5 is the D, which is the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. So we're going to make it a D sharp, bring it up a half step, and then we have our G on top. And in almost every Freddie King recording I've heard, it's a G7 sharp 5. Okay, that's not an uncommon thing to do for a 5 chord. Okay, and it's kind of a cool sound. I mean, it's one where, like, if you got on stage and let's say you got up with some guys and you were going to play this tune, you would want to have your big ears on, okay? Because almost all of these chords could be minor or 7th. And you just got to listen, right? You know, unless you're working it out ahead of time, you just listen and you hear. If you hear, you know, minor, then don't play 7th, play minor, right? And that's one of the reasons that we often don't play on beat 1. You know, the bass and maybe the keys are gonna give you what you need. Now, of course, if there's no other harmonic instrument, then you get to decide, okay? And it doesn't matter. But one of the most compelling reasons for staying off of beat 1 in an environment where you don't know what's coming is because if you come in on beat 2, you have beat 1 to hear what's going on. And that's awesome, okay? Because you can hear, oh, he's playing a 7th chord there, and you can grab that. If you practice it both ways and get used to some of those variations, when you hear it, you'll just pick it up, okay? Because you've heard it both ways. You know what the options are. So let's just play it down one time. Now, for strumming, I'm just kind of, you know, my right hand, 1, 2, it's just sort of bouncing, right? And I'm just playing, I'm sort of doing the call on beat 1 and the response. So bass note is the call, the rest of the chord is the response on beat 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, E7, F7, F sharp diminished 7, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 1, 5. Sometimes it's hard to get all those notes. I don't usually do that. Okay, you can also do that. You can do that with one finger. You just have to watch out not to hit the 5th string. But you really don't even need all those notes. Okay, or you could do it like with a little arpeggio thing. 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and this is kind of a cool way to do it. Use open position chords if you want. Something fun with that. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that you could play this. You can just really, it's all about experimenting and choosing what works for your situation. Oh, and like I said, if you were playing it with a band, you'd probably keep it simple. 1, 2, 3. There's my C, E7, 2, 3, 4, F, 2, 3, F sharp diminished 7. 1, 4, 6, sorry, 2, and 5, 1, and 4, and 5. There's another way to play. This doesn't have a 7 in it, but if I do that, it does. This is just a regular sharp 5 chord. So there's my G, which is my 3rd fret on the 10th fret, G, 5th string. There's the 3rd of the chord, which is the 9th fret on the 4th string. There's the sharp 5, right? 8th fret on the 3rd string, and there's my root again. Or you could make it really hard. That's no fun. But there's my flat 7 if I do that. Ooh, it's kind of tense though. That's probably better. Just take the root and bring it down to flatted 7th down here. That's another way to do it. There's a lot of different ways you can play those types of chords. Just kind of, go with what fits your hand, really. Just, kind of play with, I'm probably giving you 3 or 4 different options. Play them all and see which one kind of fits your hand. That's really the best approach that I can give you. So, a little bit about soloing over this, just because, you might want to. I have a lot of fun. I just played it into my looper and just kind of noodle over it. Over, like most chords or most blues tunes, over the 1 chord. Sorry. Just kind of major blues sound. And which for me, the way I look at the major blues sound is box 2. On my root. So my root is C. So I'm going to play box 2 here. If I want to go to box 1, I'll slide into it. Okay? When it goes to the 3 chord, really not much changes for me. Theoretically, I should use a G sharp instead of the E, instead of the G. And you could, of course, use like chord tones. Right? You could use E major blues and throw in some of the minor third in there, which at this point would be I look at this as box 5. And then F. So F is a 4 chord. So I'll just go back to the C minor blues. The F sharp diminished doesn't really change anything. And then over the 1, 6, 2, 5, because they're all dominant 7, I'll sort of switch back and forth between the major blues sound and then over the 6, or the, I'll kind of stay major. Over the 2 and the 5, I kind of go minor. And then over the 1, and then we have a regular old turnaround, 1, 4, 1, 5. So I'll just kind of play major blues over the 4 minor blues, over the 1 major blues again, and 5 minor blues. And really, at any point, if the easiest way, as always, you know, with blues, the easiest thing to do is play the minor blues scale the whole time. And you can do that, okay? There's so many dominant 7th chords, there's so many kind of manipulating of keys and stuff that if you were to play the minor blues sound the whole time, it would probably sound just fine. Like you wouldn't feel like, oh, I'm really missing something here. It really sounds bad. That would never happen. Our ear is really tuned into that. So what I would do is choose one spot, maybe that first E7 chord. Okay, well now you're going to play around with an E7 arpeggio for a while. You know, see if you can get that to work just in one spot, right? And then later on, see if you can maybe get something for the 6th chord when it becomes a dominant 7th. You know, do you want to change things up? But pick one spot at a time and practice with that, getting that one spot happening. And the rest of it, just keep it simple. Okay, so it's a really fun tune. I hope you'll mess around with it today a little bit, play with it, and just just add it to your bag. Just add it to your little pile of experience that you keep. All right. So thanks for joining me in the video. Hope you dig it. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and Facebooks and all that stuff. And I will look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.